Chapter 26. Inherent Fiend Chen Sanchen. Connate Providence? Hanju frowned. Is there someone outside the cave? He quickly checked its origin. Chen Sanchen is inherently fiendish. He possesses an extremely strong affinity towards the fiendish Tao's techniques. When he was young, he wandered along with his parents. When his parents were killed by bandits, his fiendish character was awakened. He, who was only 7 years old, slaughtered over 100 bandits. From then on, his killing became unstoppable. Eventually, he joined the viridescent nether cult and became very successful. Presently, he's ranked as the eldest core disciple of the viridescent nether cult. As expected, someone from the viridescent nether cult. Core disciple. So he hasn't reached the level of an elder yet. Hanju understood that the strength of the cult and Jade Pure sect was about the same. Chen Sanchen was at most at the 9th level of the Golden Core realm. Why is he here at the Jade Pure sect? Is he alone, or is there a large group hidden around him? Hanju got up and carefully walked to the cave entrance. He looked out and saw a man in black walking out of the woods nearby. He was acting suspiciously. Hanju couldn't feel the man's presence. If he hadn't witnessed it with his own eyes, he might not have discovered him. Other than Chen Sanchen, there was no one else. As Chen Sanchen walked to the entrance of the cave, his gaze fell on a line of words on the mountain wall. Endure today, freedom tomorrow. How laughable. The people of the Jade Pure sect are indeed cowards. Chen Sanchen couldn't help but sneer. In the tunnel, Hanju felt offended. He's asking to be killed. Hanju activated the 3 Pure Shadow Sword technique. 3 sword shadows floated behind him, ready to kill Chen Sanchen at any time. Because of the array formation, Chen Sanchen couldn't see Hanju and couldn't sense his aura. The two were less than 10 steps apart. Chen Sanchen looked for a while and felt that something was off. Could this be a cave abode? Chen Sanchen narrowed his eyes. He took out a sword and gently stabbed it into the mountain wall. Swish, swish, swish. The sword light flashed, and Chen Sanchen subconsciously closed his eyes. He instinctively jumped back. 3 sword shadows pierced through his body like lightning, and blood splattered everywhere. Chen Sanchen landed a dozen meters away like a sandbag. He crashed into a big tree, and the leaves fell like rain. Ouch! Chen Sanchen gritted his teeth and looked up. 3 sword shadows were floating above his head, ready to slash down at any moment. He was scared out of his wits. What's this? He hurriedly shouted, "Sir, stop." Standing by the cave entrance, Hanju shook his head. So weak, he can't withstand a single blow. Or is my 3 Pure Shadow sword technique too powerful? Hanju touched his chin and pondered. After being attacked by the 3 Pure Shadow sword technique, the aura of Chen Sanchen's spirit energy was revealed. Hanju made a comparison. Chen Sanchen's spirit energy was about the same level as his. However, he couldn't see through Chen Sanchen's cultivation level. In other words, Chen Sanchen's cultivation level was higher than his, but the strength of his spirit energy was not as strong as his. 6 Paths of Reincarnation Technique's dominance was finally revealed. In a good mood, Hanju asked, "Why did you come to the Jade Pure sect?" Chen Sanchen replied, "I happened to pass by this place. I didn't want to enter the Jade Pure sect. He's really good at lying." The 3 sword shadows dropped down. Horrified, Chen Sanchen quickly jumped to the side. But his right leg was still pierced by the sword shadows and was nailed to the ground. He fell down like a dog pouncing on shit. Damn it! Chen Sanchen was so aggrieved that he was about to explode. He was the core disciple of the cult, yet he was subdued before he could even make a move. The 3 sword shadows were like ghosts. Their speed was ridiculously fast. Nailed to his legs, they were actually draining his spirit energy. What kind of spell is this? Chen Sanchen panicked. He had investigated the Jade Pure sect. The sect wasn't a pure sword cultivation sect. Among the elders, no one had such a powerful sword-related spell. Could it be the mysterious Great-Grand Elder? Chen Sanchen, inherent fiend, the eldest disciple of the viridescent nether cult. What do you think will happen to you if I hand you over to the Jade Pure sect? Hanju's voice sounded again. Ken Sanchen's expression changed drastically. His heart was in turmoil. How does this guy know my background? Completely flustered, Chen Sanchen hurriedly kowtowed towards the direction of the cave abode and said fearfully, "Sir, I was wrong. Give me a chance. I've never killed a disciple of the Jade Pure sect." Hanju was hesitating whether he should kill Chen Sanchen. Based on his experience from reading novels, killing such a prodigy might lead to a series of alternative storylines. Generally speaking, there would always be mechanisms with which his elders would know if such a prodigy was killed. Then the protagonist would be pursued by them. Kill the little ones, come the big ones. Kill the big ones, come the old ones. Kill the old ones, come the older and bigger ones from the heavens. Why don't I capture him? If Sect Master is captured in the future, we can use him in the exchange, right? Hanju thought silently. Sounds feasible. In any case, he was wearing the Golden Cicada's mystic divine robe. It was impossible for Chen Sanchen to hurt him. Hanju waved his right hand, and the three sword shadows disappeared into thin air. Chen Sanchen didn't dare to escape. He could only kneel on the ground and shiver. He was already injured. With Hanju's strength, even if he tried his best to escape, he wouldn't be able to. "Come in," Hanju's voice floated over. The cave entrance appeared, and the stone door opened. Chen Sanchen saw Hanju. What a handsome man! So young! He thought Hanju was the disciple of that elder. He gritted his teeth and stood up. After he entered, Hanju activated the array formation again and closed the cave door. Hanju turned and walked into the cave. Chen Sanchen suddenly grabbed Hanju. The sword in his hand hung in front of Hanju's neck, and he shouted in a deep voice, "Elder, let me go. Otherwise, I'll kill your disciple." The abode fell into silence. Chen Sanchen looked around uneasily. Hanju said faintly, "I don't have a disciple." Chen Sanchen's body froze when he heard this. Clang! His sword fell to the ground, and he suddenly knelt down, forcing a smile. "Senior, I was just joking." He could sense Hanju's cultivation level. The 9th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. Impossible. It must be a facade. To be able to directly suppress me and predict my background, this guy must be an expert. Hanju walked further inside the cave and said, "Follow me." Chen Sanchen quickly followed. Hanju came to his own wooden bed and sat down. Chen Sanchen knelt in front of him and appeared very respectful. Is he really the eldest core disciple of the Viridescent Nether cult? Hanju originally wanted to hand Chen Sanchen over to Fairy Kaixuan, but if he did that, Chen Sanchen would definitely escape with his life. He didn't have the strength to suppress Chen Sanchen. At most, he could defeat him. The reason why Chen Sanchen didn't dare to flee was because he overestimated Hanju's strength. In any case, with the Golden Cicada's mystic divine robe protecting his body, he wasn't afraid that Chen Sanchen would ambush him. Not only could the Golden Cicada's mystic divine robe protect his body, but it could also protect his head. In any case, Chen Sanchen couldn't hurt him. Hanju said softly, "Pick up your sword and stab me with all your strength." Chen Sanchen shivered and wailed, "Elder, I understand my mistake. I know I did wrong. Come on, if you don't try, you'll keep thinking about ambushing me from now on." "I don't dare. I won't blame you. Just do it. Elder, I'll kowtow to you." Chen Sanchen almost cried as he hurriedly kowtowed to Hanju. He thought Hanju was setting him up and finding a reason to kill him. In any case, if he made a move, it would definitely not end well for him. Hanju was speechless. Am I that scary? He had read Chen Sanchen's background introduction and thought this person was extremely cruel and would rather die than submit. He didn't expect him to be so cowardly. "From today onwards, you will stay here and plant spirit herbs for me. You can also cultivate," Hanju instructed. "Okay, when can I leave?" "What? I said the wrong thing. I will slap my own mouth." Chapter 27, Death of the Inherent Fiend, on Kyo, 9th level of the Golden Core Realm. Chen Sanchen's presence did not change Hanju's life. He focused on cultivating every day. He used his own wooden bed as a barrier. During his cultivation, Chen Sanchen couldn't feel his spirit energy fluctuation at all. To Chen Sanchen, Hanju appeared even more unfathomable. In the blink of an eye, a year quickly passed. As the spirit herbs grew, the spirit Kai in the cave abode became denser. Hanju's thunder cultivation potential also successfully reached the 4th stage of the Golden Core realm. A level higher each year, not bad. If news of this were to spread, countless people would be scared to death. Chen Sanchen had already calmed down. He discovered that Hanju didn't make things difficult for him, but he didn't dare to run away, so he could only cultivate along. Hanju had been cultivating and hadn't left. This made Chen Sanchen even more anxious. Although it feels good to train, it will delay the intelligence if this continues. Chen Sanchen was facing away from Hanju as he frowned and thought. He was the eldest core disciple. If he didn't return after such a long time, people in the cult would definitely be worried and even panic. What should I do? Ambush him? Chen San was in a dilemma. When he thought of his defeat last year, he shuddered. The difference in strength was too great. For Hanju to dare to cultivate so fearlessly, he must have everything under control. Damn it! What's this fellow trying to do, trapping me here? If I'm strong enough, I'll definitely make you pay 100 times over. Chen Sanchen's eyes flashed coldly. Who am I? I'm the formidable inherent fiend of the viridescent nether cult. Chen Sanchen's hatred for you has increased. Current hatred, 4 stars. Hanju was disturbed from his cultivation by this line and frowned. At asterisk kid, it rose again. Hanju wanted to vomit blood. In the past year, he didn't torture him. Chen Sanchen seemed obedient, but his hatred for him kept increasing. Now it had reached 4 stars. To the extent that he would fight me till death. Chen Sanchen didn't know what he was thinking. He was still planning to kill Hanju and escape. I can only wait for him to go out. With his cultivation, he must be an elder or the great-grand elder. Recently, the cult has been harassing the Jade Pure sect. It's impossible for him to continue cultivating in peace. When I escape, I will definitely lead the cult to flatten Jade Pure sect. By then I will tear this brat into pieces and extract his soul. Chen Sanchen was filled with killing intent, but he didn't dare to show it. When he thought about how he would torture him and how Hanju would kneel before him and beg for mercy, he felt extremely good. At this moment, swish, swish, swish. It was the familiar air-piercing sound. Before Chen Sanchen could react, 3 sword shadows pierced through his chest and blood splattered all over the ground. Chen Sanchen's eyes widened. His eyes were bloodshot as he turned his head in disbelief. Hanju waved his right hand expressionlessly. The sword shadows turned around and blew up his head. Chen Sanchen, the inherent fiend, was dead. This time, it was even more straightforward than a year ago. Chen Sanchen didn't even have the time to dodge. Until Chen Sanchen died, Hanju didn't know how strong he was. Chen Sanchen had long let down his guard. He thought Hanju would keep him alive for some purpose. He didn't expect to be killed today. The moment Chen Sanchen's corpse fell to the ground, a light ball emerged from his body. Hanju raised his eyebrows. Could it be? The ball of light changed rapidly and turned into a human figure. This person had an aged face and his eyes were filled with evilness. He first glanced at Chen Sanchen's corpse, then he stared at Hanju. The cave abode was silent. Hanju sighed. So the old is really here. The old man snorted coldly. Are you sighing because you regret it? You're dead for killing my disciple. State your name. Hanju said expressionlessly, I'm Teokeo, what about you? Viridescent nether cult, Zhang Kunmo. Oh. Just wait for your death. After Zhang Kunmo finished speaking, he disappeared. Zhang Kunmo has hatred towards you. Current hatred, 5 stars. 5 stars. Very high. Hanju panicked. He quickly checked his interpersonal relationships and heaved a sigh of relief. 8th level of the nascent soul realm. Just like that. From his tone, Hanju thought he was a soul formation realm cultivator. Only a nascent soul. Hanju stood up and began to search for Chen Sanchen's storage bag and storage ring. After a person died, their ownership over their storage rings and storage bags would terminate. This brat is quite rich. There were countless spirit stones and pills, as well as many talismans and curses. But he had few pieces of equipment and not even a single manual. Only bring money when going out. Hanju poured everything into his little universe belt. He then waved his right hand, and his fire spirit energy turned into raging flames that wrapped around Chen Sanchen's corpse, burning it into ashes. Hanju returned to his bed and continued cultivating. Time passed quickly. 8 years passed. Hanju had finally reached the 9th level of the Golden Core realm. Besides the Thunder cultivation potential, the other 5 were still at the 1st level of the Golden Core realm. No one would believe it if news of this speed of breakthrough were to spread. Hanju started to cultivate his Wind cultivation potential. It could increase his flying speed and was suitable for escaping from danger. Half a month later, someone visited. It was Xing Hongxuan. "Husband, are you there?" Hearing this, Hanju's mouth twitched. After so many years, Xing Hongxuan's cultivation level had already reached the 3rd stage of the Foundation Establishment realm. It seemed like Dewei's Jingsu was treating her well. Back when she was still at the Key Refinement realm, her breakthrough speed hadn't been this fast. Hanju thought for a moment, then waved his hand to close the array formation at the entrance. The stone door then opened wide. Xing Hongxuan quickly walked in. Upon seeing Hanju, she beamed with joy. She first sized up the situation inside the cave abode, then walked to Hanju's side and sat down. Then she leaned against him. Hanju frowned and said, "Miss Xing, please behave appropriately. I haven't agreed to be your husband." Xing Hongxuan pursed her lips. "Weren't you very excited when you were in the outer sect?" Hanju felt awkward, but his expression did not change and he looked cold. Xing Hongxuan waved her right hand, and 10 medicinal bottles appeared on the ground. "These are pure jade pills," Xing Hongxuan said with a proud smile. "I've accumulated them over the years. I don't believe you won't be tempted." Hanju's expression softened. "Take it back, I don't need it anymore." Xing Hongxuan's smile froze as she frowned. After that, her expression changed greatly, and she asked with a trembling voice, "Could it be that you've already?" Hanju smiled. Xing Hongxuan immediately jumped towards him, but he blocked her with his spirit energy. "Miss Xing, if you want to be my companion, you have to cultivate harder. Otherwise, after hundreds of years, I will become an immortal and you will become white bones. Your deep love would then be my punishment," Hanju said seriously. Xing Hongxuan calmed down upon hearing this. He has a point. She immediately stood up and said, "You're right, I can't be your burden. I'll help you ask for Golden Core cultivation pills." With that, she took back the medicine bottle on the ground and walked towards the cave entrance. "Miss Xing, don't tell anyone about my breakthrough." Hanju reminded her. His cultivation speed was too astonishing. If news of this got out, he wouldn't be able to cultivate in peace. Xing Hongxuan turned and smiled. "Don't worry. I'm also afraid that you will attract the attention of other girls." Her smile was as beautiful as a flower, and it was extremely moving. Hanju quickly suppressed his palpitations. What a terrifying woman! I almost fell for it. After Xing Hongxuan left, Hanju waved his hand and activated the array formation again. He closed the stone gate and continued his cultivation. Xing Hongxuan, Fairy Kaixuan. Both have the word Xuan in their names. Could it be that they are related? Hanju held his breath and thought silently. Chapter 28. Target is Nascent Soul Realm, Huge Changes. To Hanju, the feud between the viridescent Nether cult and the Jade Pure sect had been going on for decades. In reality, it had been even longer. The two sects weren't the only ones in the cultivation world. There were other sects as well. Their enemies weren't just each other. It was precisely because of this that the viridescent Nether cult and the Jade Pure sect didn't dare to make a move. They were afraid that both sides would suffer losses and give the other sects a chance to reap the benefits. In a dark hall, 8 figures were meditating. Zhang Kunma was among them. The leader was a man in a blood-red robe. His hair was black and white, and he had an indifferent expression. He held a horsetail whisk in his hand. He was Duan Tongshan, cult leader of the viridescent Nether cult. You still haven't caught Lake Kingsley after so long? Duan Tongshan asked in a deep voice. The 7 elders fell silent. They had chased after Lake Kingsley for nearly 20 years, and each time Lake Kingsley was lucky enough to escape. Lake Kingsley intentionally didn't return to the Jade Pure sect. He was acting as the decoy for the sect. Zhang Kunmo said, "Let's just ignore him and attack the Jade Pure sect directly. My disciple was killed there. We put in so much effort on Sanshan. Aren't you going to seek revenge?" He gritted his teeth at the thought of Hanju. Back then, he had threatened him. But after so many years, he still hadn't taken action. He could even imagine Hanju mocking him for boasting. I think so too. Our overall strength has already surpassed the Jade Pure sects. We can attack them directly. During the Demonic Path Convention, the other sects have already declared that unless we conquer the neighboring Jade Pure sect, they will not submit to us. That's right. If we can't even defeat a nearby Orthodox sect, how can we be the leader of the Demonic Path sects? I'm willing to lead my disciples to attack the Jade Pure sect. Other than Lake Kingsley, there's another old monster in the Jade Pure sect. The elders began to discuss amongst themselves. Duan Tongshan's eyes flickered, but he didn't say anything. After a long time, all the elders stopped and turned to look at him, waiting for him to make a decision. Duan Tongshan said, "I'm preparing to break through to the Soul Formation realm. Let's launch the attack after my success. By then it would be very easy to defeat the Jade Pure sect." Soul Formation realm. The elders looked at him in shock. Dan Kunmo took a deep breath and asked, "Leader, are you confident?" Duan Tongshan said calmly, "I've been preparing for this for decades. I'm 90% confident. 30 more years, it won't be long." 30 years. To mortals, it might be half a lifetime. But to them, it wasn't long at all. It had been 10 years since Sting Hongxuan left. Hanju cultivated his wind cultivation potential to the 9th level of the Golden Core realm, and his fire cultivation potential to the 3rd. Ever since his thunder cultivation potential reached the 9th level of the Golden Core realm, cultivating the other cultivation potentials was twice as easy. Hanju already saw the nascent soul realm waving at him. He grew stronger every day. It was a wonderful feeling, so cultivating in seclusion wasn't boring at all. Only by reaching the nascent soul realm as soon as possible could one truly emerge from the weak. Hanju was already 88 years old, and he was at the 9th level of the Golden Core realm. In the cultivation world, there was definitely no other person as fast as him. But he was still unsatisfied. Even reaching the nascent soul realm wasn't enough. He wanted to cultivate until the end, until he was absolutely invincible. One fine day, Chang Yuer came to visit. Hanju closed the array formation and welcomed her into the residence. "Junior brother, I'm here to see you. I also brought you some natural treasures. Planting them by the pool will make the spirit kai in your cave abode even richer. In the future, it might become the cave abode with the richest spirit kai in the entire Jade Pure sect," Chang Yuer said with a smile. She walked to the edge of the pool and began scattering seeds. Hanju smiled. "Thank you, senior. Don't thank me. It was all given to me by master. I'm just helping out with some manual labor," Chang Yuer said with a smile. Hanju couldn't help but think about Fairy Kaixuan. He uttered a word of gratitude in his head. Chang Yuer continued, "Ever since you went into seclusion, Jade Serene Peak welcomed several new disciples. Junior Iron, who was ranked behind you, passed away 2 years ago. Elder Iron has died." Hanju was stunned. He hurriedly clicked on his interpersonal relationships and realized that he could no longer find Elder Iron's profile picture. He was gone. Speaking of him, his cultivation potential was so bad, he should have spent his entire life in the outer sect. To be able to come to the inner sect, he definitely had no more regrets. However, before his death, he wanted to see you. His apprentice alchemist told me that. "Why did he want to see me?" Hanju asked with a complicated expression. He used to hate Elder Iron. But now that he thought about it, Elder Iron had never hurt him. It could even be said that he had raised him. Elder Iron's death caused Hanju's disgust towards him to disappear without a trace. He even felt a bit melancholy. This is the path of cultivation. People always die on the way, but I can't die halfway. Hanju became more determined to pursue immortality. Cheng Yue shook her head and said, "How would I know? Did you know each other before?" Only a few people knew that Hanju and Elder Iron knew each other. Cheng Yue wasn't one of them. It doesn't matter anymore. Senior, cultivate harder. If you die too, I will be sad. Hanju was sincere this time. After coming to this world, he didn't know many people. There were even fewer people who had treated him well. Cheng Yue turned to look at him and smiled. "Imph, stinky little junior. I thought you didn't care about me." Hanju smiled and shook his head. The two of them started chatting. Most of the time, Cheng Yue was the one talking. She described everything that had happened in the inner sect. Zhou Fan had completely risen up and became an influential figure in the inner sect. He succeeded in his challenge against the eldest disciple of Sword Peak with his foundation establishment cultivation. He won over his companion and shocked the entire sect. But on the second day after their wedding, he divorced the woman again. It was a huge controversy. Currently, Zhou Fan and Mo Fuchao had already become the representatives of the Heavenly Thunder Peak. They were both personal disciples, and Mo Fuchao was even a core candidate. Xing Hongchuan had been cultivating at Main Peak, so she wasn't very famous. "All right, it's time for me to go back and cultivate. I'll try to accompany you on the road of cultivation for a bit longer." Cheng Yue playfully smiled and then left. Hanju sighed. Although Cheng Yue was joking, Hanju felt sad when he heard her words. Hanju was someone who wanted to live forever. Cheng Yue's talent was far inferior to his, so she definitely wouldn't live as long as him. However, Hanju wasn't a pretentious person and quickly adjusted his mentality. If he had the ability in the future, he could also help those close to him. For example, Fairy Kaixuan, Chang Yue, and Xing Hongchuan. Should Mo Zhu be included? Hanju pondered silently. He suddenly raised his right hand and used his finger as a sword to write 2 words on the stone wall across him. Elder Iron. He stood up and bowed at the name. It was a late farewell. Hopefully, Elder Iron will be reborn in a good family. After that, Hanju continued to meditate and cultivate. It had been another 10 years. Hanju's fire and water cultivation potentials had reached the 9th and 7th levels of the Golden Core realm, respectively. He was only left with earth and wood cultivation potentials. This speed was already amazing, but he was somewhat dissatisfied. He began to rummage through his little universe belt to check the medicinal pills left behind by Chen Sanchen. Chen Sanchen was also a Golden Core cultivator. Perhaps he had Golden Core cultivation pills. Unfortunately, no. This brat's medicinal pills were mostly poison, aphrodisiacs, and all sorts of despicable drugs. As expected of a *** king member of the cult, Hanju couldn't help but curse. Chapter 29. Slaughter a 5th-level nascent soul realm cultivator, soul formation realm cultivator in the cult. Without the aid of pills, Hanju could only continue cultivating with great difficulty. Even so, he was getting closer and closer to the nascent soul realm. 2 years later, his water cultivation potential had finally reached the 9th level of the Golden Core realm. Hanju began cultivating his wood cultivation potential. Lines of words suddenly appeared in front of him. Congratulations on reaching 100 years old. You have unlocked the simulation trial function. Simulation trial. You can set your opponent's cultivation level and level of strength to simulate a battle. You can also detect all living beings within a radius of 100 miles and simulate a battle with them. The result of the battle will not affect the physical and mental state of the opponent. The number of times you activate this function is unlimited. Simulation trial? It can even detect living beings within a radius of 50 kilometers. Hanju was first stunned, then pleasantly surprised. This is an overpowered function. Hanju didn't know how strong he was. He could finally give it a try now. He immediately activated the simulation trial function and closed his eyes. He came to a dark space. You can choose a character in interpersonal relationships to be your opponent. Hanju immediately chose Li Qingzi. He wanted to see the difference in strength between him and the sect master. Soon Lai Qingzi appeared in front of him. This Lai Qingzi was expressionless and looked like a puppet. The battle began. Lai Qingzi took out a golden ruler and attacked Hanju. Hanju took out the Kylin sword and used the 7 illusionary steps to distance himself from him. He quickly executed the 3 pure shadow sword technique, causing 3 sword shadows to appear out of thin air and shoot towards Lai Qingzi. Lai Qingzi quickly waved his ruler, dispersed the sword shadows, and chased after him. Hanju raised his hand and struck out with the 9 dragons devil-expelling seal. The 6 attributes of spirit energy kept changing, and the 9 dragons devil-expelling seal collided with Lai Qingzi. Initially, Lai Qingzi was still able to break the 9 dragons devil-expelling seal, but he was quickly sent flying. Hanju raised his eyebrows. It seemed like his 9 dragons devil-expelling seal was very powerful. No wonder it could suppress the Great Grand Elder's essence soul. However, the 9 dragons devil-expelling seal didn't hurt Lai Qingzi. He would always launch his attack again immediately after. Hanju wasn't in a hurry. He was already very satisfied to be on par with Lai Qingzi. The battle lasted for 10 minutes before Hanju lost. Lai Qingzi's heavenly constellation golden body was extremely powerful. When spells hit him, it didn't cause any substantial damage. However, Hanju discovered that using the Kylin sword to execute the 3 pure shadows sword technique would make his attack more damaging. It could break through Lai Qingzi's heavenly constellation golden body and cause him to bleed, as expected of an unparalleled sword. However, he would only be able to break through the defense, not claim victory. He then lowered Lai Qingzi's cultivation. 7th level of the nascent soul realm. He still couldn't win. 6th level of the nascent soul realm. A draw. 5th level of the nascent soul realm. He slaughtered Lai Qingzi. Hanju activated the Kylin sword and executed the 3 pure shadow sword technique. The 3 sword shadows tore Lai Qingzi's body apart. Not bad, not bad. To kill a cultivator 5 levels above me is up to standard considering my cultivation technique, cultivation potential, sword technique, and unparalleled sword potential. Hanju thought silently. Subsequently, he lowered Lai Qingzi's cultivation level to the 9th level of the Golden Core realm and realized that his spirit energy far exceeded Lai Qingzi's. The power of the 6 paths of reincarnation technique was evident. Cultivating all 6 types of cultivation potentials gave an abundant pool of spirit energy. He could instantly kill Lai Qingzi of the same cultivation level as him without using the Kylin sword. When his consciousness returned to reality, Hanju opened his eyes. I can kill a 5th level nascent soul realm expert now. When I break through to the nascent soul realm, wouldn't I be able to compete with a soul formation realm cultivator? Hanju thought excitedly, but then shook his head. The strength of a soul formation realm cultivator was definitely vastly different from that of a nascent soul realm cultivator. He couldn't let his imagination wild, or else he might fail. I have to think that I can't beat a soul formation realm cultivator. That's the only way to be cautious. Hanju warned himself silently. Only wood and earth cultivation potentials left. Hanju was full of fighting spirit. He felt that he would be able to cultivate both to the 9th level of the Golden Core realm within 10 years. As more and more cultivation potentials reached the 9th level of the Golden Core realm, the cultivation speed of the remaining ones became faster and faster. 10 years was enough for him to cultivate the 2 remaining potentials to the 9th level. 10 years went by quickly. Hanju didn't leave the cave abode even half a step. He practically cultivated the entire time. He had successfully cultivated all of his cultivation potentials to the 9th level of the Golden Core realm. Next, he would begin cultivation to perfection. Hanju was pleasantly surprised to discover that he could actually absorb 6 types of spirit kai at the same time. It was something new. Can it be that the 9th level of the Golden Core realm is a threshold? Hanju soon discovered that absorbing 6 types of spirit kai at the same time wasn't too slow for his cultivation speed. Overall, it was faster than before. Good news. Hanju was confident and continued to cultivate. Half a year later, all his cultivation potentials had reached perfection. He could finally cultivate his nascent soul. Hanju didn't relax. He started to prepare for the tribulation transcendence. He established a barrier covering the entire connate cave abode. J. Pure Sect, main peak. Inside the hall, Lai Qingzi sat at the end of the table. The elders of the 18 peaks were gathered. Besides them, there were several other elders. Everyone's expression was very grave. Heavenly Thunder Peak's old immortal Dewey's Thunder's expression was really pale. He gritted his teeth and asked, "Is this true?" Lai Qingzi sighed and said, "It's absolutely true. Duan Tongshan had just transcended tribulation a month ago. He's now consolidating his cultivation. He's already a Soul Formation Realm Almighty." Soul Formation Realm. Everyone was scared out of their mind. It was as if a mountain was pressing down on them, making it hard for them to breathe. Even Fairy Xiaoxuan didn't look good. Where's Master? Hasn't he already cultivated his essence soul? Is he already close to the Soul Formation Realm? Dewey's Jingsu hurriedly asked. Lai Qingzi sighed and said, "No, his essence soul is only a mystical power. He seemed to have suffered some kind of blow previously and gave up on it decades ago. He's still cultivating bitterly now. Although he's already at the 9th level of the nascent soul realm, there's still an insurmountable gap between him and the Soul Formation Realm." The hall fell into deathly silence. Everyone was stressed. An elder couldn't help but ask, "Then, what should we do?" "Ask for help." Lai Qingzi sighed and said, "I've already sent a letter to other Orthodox sects asking for help. I hadn't received any reply yet." The elders began to discuss amongst themselves. Soul Formation Realm. Even if all of us joined forces, we still might not be able to defeat him. Other than Duan Tongshan, there are many nascent soul cultivators in the viridescent nether cult. Sigh. Who would know that the goddamn cult would produce a Soul Formation Realm cultivator? Our end has come. We definitely won't be able to win in a direct confrontation. Why don't we escape? How are we going to escape? Where are we going to escape to? Are we going to abandon our centuries of establishment? The elders were all talking at once, and their tone was very bad. No one could speak calmly in the face of such a crisis. Lai Qingzi sighed, his face full of worry. Kuang. The bell rang on Jade Serene Peak. All the disciples gathered in front of the main door of the Jade Serene Hall. After entering the hall, the disciples found mats to sit on. Fairy Xiaoxuan glanced around and frowned slightly. Hanju didn't come again. Forget it. All the disciples looked at Fairy Xiaoxuan. There was no nervousness nor anticipation. It thought it was about the upcoming intersect assessment. From the latest information, the cult leader of the viridescent nether cult, Duan Tongshan, has already reached the Soul Formation Realm. If there are no accidents, the cult will launch a large-scale invasion against us in a few years. Fairy Xiaoxuan's expression was indifferent as she spoke. The disciples were stunned for a moment before exploding. Soul Formation Realm? Impossible. Do we have Soul Formation cultivators? Of course not. Soul Formation Realm only exists in the legends. It's over. No wonder the cult is becoming more rampant lately. Chapter 30. Mystical Power. Heavenly Punishment Ghost Deity Sword. Fairy Xiaoxuan raised her hand, signaling the disciples to be quiet. The disciples quickly quietened down and looked at her nervously. The emergence of a Soul Formation Realm cultivator in the cult was definitely a catastrophe for the J Pure Sect. Even if they have a Soul Formation Realm cultivator, we still have to fight. J Pure Sect has been established for almost 1,000 years. How can it be destroyed by the cult? I don't usually ask you all to contribute to the sect, but since the sect is in trouble, all of you must be prepared to fight. From today onwards, all of you are not allowed to leave the J Pure Sect. Focus on your cultivation and prepare for the battle. Fairy Xiaoxuan swept her gaze over everyone as she spoke. The strong aura of a nascent soul cultivator erupted, enveloping the entire hall. The disciples felt a chill in their hearts. Even though they were afraid, they didn't dare to show it. As matters stood, there was no other way. They had all dealt with the cult before and knew that the consequences of surrendering would be worse. Inside the connate cave abode, thunder rumbled. Hanju was transcending the tribulation. Under the barrier's enclosure, the sound and aura of the heavenly thunder did not leak out. This heavenly tribulation was different from the ones he encountered before. The lightning transformed into a dragon, and it was even more destructive than before. Nevertheless, it couldn't break through the golden cicada's mystic divine robe's defense. In order to prevent the plants in the cave abode from being destroyed, Hanju used his spirit energy to protect them. Fortunately, the lightning only kept bombarding him. The cave wasn't big, but it was very high. The dark clouds blocked the hole on top. During the tribulation, Hanju had nightmares from time to time. There were all kinds of nightmares, including the death of his friends and master, as well as returning to his previous life and realizing it was all just a dream. Fortunately, Hanju had a strong will, and these nightmares couldn't affect him at all. The inner evil didn't even have a chance to emerge. Nascent soul realm, I'm definitely going to break through. Hanju thought excitedly. As he continued to circulate his spirit energy according to the cultivation method, the 6 spirit energies in his body formed a vortex once again. As they gathered on his golden core, the outline of a nascent soul could be vaguely seen. He was already close to the nascent soul realm. Junior. Cheng Yu's voice came from outside the cave abode. Hanju thought it was a hallucination. He had heard it before, so he didn't take it to heart. Outside the cave abode, Cheng Yu called out a few times, but Hanju didn't answer. She couldn't help but frown as she muttered, "Stinky Junior, you're cultivating too seriously. The sect is in crisis, but you don't even want to come out." She thought about it and decided to stay outside the cave abode. She walked to a tree not far away and started meditating. If the viridescent nether cult attacked the Jade Pure sect from this side, Hanju would definitely be the first to face trouble. She had to protect him. Of course, with her strength, it was very difficult for her to protect him. But when Hanju woke up from his cultivation, she could tell him immediately and bring him back to the inner sect to hide. 10 days later, Hanju finally reached the nascent soul realm, and his spiritual strength soared. The 6 types of spirit energy merged into a new and powerful spirit energy. 6 paths spirit energy. A line of words appeared in front of Hanju. Congratulations on breaking through to the nascent soul realm. You will obtain a mystical power reward. You chose the path of a swordsman. Congratulations on attaining a Sword Dao mystical power, Heavenly Punishment Ghost Deity Sword. Wow! Heavenly Punishment Ghost Deity Sword. What a dramatic name, so embarrassing. Hanju thought excitedly. He immediately began to inherit the mystical power. Although it was a mystical power, it was still a Sword Dao. It wasn't difficult for Hanju. A mystical power was different from usual magic. He would be able to use it immediately after understanding it. Practice wasn't necessary. But of course, he could still practice it if he wanted to. It would make him more proficient with it. At the same time, outside the cave abode, Cheng Yu was meditating and cultivating. She was already used to cultivating nearby. She opened her eyes to look at the cave abode and muttered, "Stinky Junior, you still aren't coming out." Luckily, the cult didn't invade us. She wanted to leave many times, but she was afraid that she would miss the time when Hanju came out of seclusion. Cheng Yu sighed and closed her eyes again. She liked him after all. Maybe wait a little longer. The next day, Hanju successfully grasped the Heavenly Punishment Ghost Deity Sword. He'd opened his attributes panel. His lifespan had increased greatly to 988 years. He was only at the first level of the nascent soul realm. If he reached the 9th level, he would definitely hit 1,000 years old. Awesome! Hanju smiled proudly. He wasn't planning to leave the cave abode, but to continue cultivating, when he suddenly discovered Cheng Yu meditating outside. Previously, he had heard Cheng Yu's voice, but he was breaking through and thought that it was an illusion. Hanju hesitated whether he should check out what was going on outside. However, he saw that Cheng Yu was cultivating and there seemed to be no urgent matter. She actually wants to tap into the spirit Kai in my cave abode. But all the spirit herbs in the cave abode were planted by her, so Hanju decided to allow it. Continue cultivating. A year later, Chengyu suddenly stood up and looked into the distance in fear. Thunderclouds appeared above the 18 peaks of the Jade Pure sect, surging violently and covering the sky. On the west side of the Jade Pure sect, fiendish cultivators charged out of the forest one after another. A huge army of them flew on their swords and sped towards the Jade Pure sect. Fiendish aura gathered together like a sea of darkness. The cult was here. Chengyu immediately panicked. Instinctively, she wanted to call out to Hanju, but on second thought, the cult was attacking from the other side. Junior Han's cave was nicely out of the way. If she woke him up and brought him back to the inner sect, it might actually end up worse. Chengyu bit her lips before leaping onto her sword and flying towards Jade's serene peak. Inside the connate cave abode, Hanju was cultivating when a notification appeared before his eyes. Your sect, Jade Pure sect, is currently under attack by the viridescent nether cult. Hanju was stunned. He quickly reached out with his divine sense and saw the astounding scene of the cult attacking the Jade Pure sect. Why suddenly start fighting? Hanju was already a nascent soul realm expert. His strength was far greater than before, so he naturally didn't panic. But the scale of the invasion was very large. He had to be cautious. Hanju didn't go to help immediately. He activated the simulation trial function to detect everyone in Jade Pure sect and let the system search for the strongest person. Durante, first level of the Soul Formation Realm, cult leader of the viridescent nether cult. Soul Formation Realm. Hanju shuddered. So fierce. Hanju's first reaction was to run. Jade Pure sect has no chance. Calm down. I'm no longer the same as before. I could kill nascent soul realm cultivators when I was at the Golden Core realm. Hanju decided to test Duan Tongshan's strength first. He wanted to see if he could deal with him with the heavenly punishment ghost deity sword. Hanju's consciousness immediately entered the trial space. The battle began. A minute later, Hanju opened his eyes. He had an awkward expression on his face. He muttered to himself, "That's it." He had underestimated himself. I have an unparalleled sword. My cultivation technique is inherited from the immortal emperor. I have the spiritual physique of the six paths, and I have mystical powers. I can't benchmark myself with ordinary people. Hanju stood up and prepared to head to the Jade Pure sect. The once flourishing Jade Pure sect was now in chaos. The inner sect city had been reduced to ruins and corpses were everywhere. The 18 peaks were filled with figures battling. Kao Seo, come out and die. Ken Sanction's master, Jiang Kunmo, floated in the air. His eyes were bloodshot and filled with rage. He was infuriated. He had been here for so long, but Teo hadn't shown himself. Could he have run away? He had withheld his vengeance for decades. He was waiting for this day to avenge his beloved disciple, but he couldn't find the enemy. How frustrating. Jiang Kunmo turned his head to look at the Jade Pure sect's main peak. The lofty main peak had already been set on fire. Flames swept through the sky, creating a magnificent sight. Cult leaders should be ending it soon, Jiang Kunmo muttered to himself. He could feel the aura of the Jade Pure sect elders rapidly weakening. No one in the Jade Pure sect could stop a soul formation cultivator.